meeting, July 11th, 2018, at 7 p.m. Item number 1 on the agenda today is Citizens Query, 7 to 7:10 p.m.
Actually, I wanted to come in, Brian Person, 500 Weathersfield Street. I just wanted to kind of maybe have a conversation regarding the topic of the net metering policy.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
The net metering policy
Oh, yes.
of the department. Just kind of curious about it. I know, as you guys know, it was last written into 2010, probably when there were maybe no system on the grid, or maybe very few. And I'm just kind of curious if at some point there would be a revision of that, or a revisiting of how it's structured to maybe more reflect the true value of the systems that are installed, as opposed to how it's kind of written right now, where it looks like the credit is really based on just the LMP, the wholesale value of the power. And if maybe there'd be a reconsideration or a reevaluation that could take place to see if that could be updated to more current market type net metering policies that are out there.
That's a policy decision for the board, so that'd be something they have to take up at some point.
Sure. Thanks.
As being citizen query, we can't comment because it's not on the agenda.
Sure. Yeah. I just,
Sure.
yeah,
Okay, Brian.
just know that
Understood.
maybe there could
Yeah.
be a future discussion about it.
Okay, we have item 2, which is review and accept previous meeting minutes, except we do not have them with us today. Catch that maybe the next time. Okay, that brings us down to item 3, which is update on Rowley LLC solar project.
Tom Beatrice, 27 Congress Street, Salem, Mass. I represent the applicant, and I understand that the commission is interested in an update as to where we're at in terms of the project. I'm sure you understand that there was a recent change in the bylaw that affected this project to a certain extent, that ultimately has resulted in a bit of a delay on it. It's gone from site plan review since we filed last November, and as of April 30th, it's under, according to the new bylaw, special permit consideration by the planning board, which has raised a host of issues that we're working through, legal and administratively. But I guess the bottom line is that the board requested that we withdraw the site plan review application and file a special permit application. We did file the special permit application, but have not withdrawn the site plan review application, so they're both pending. One of the reasons that was done was the interest of time. The town meeting bylaw change is subject to review by the Attorney General's office, as I'm sure you're aware. That is likely not to happen until September. But if it does get approved by the AG's office, it relates back to April 30th. So in essence, we are moving forward with both applications. The next meeting is July 18th. We are cautiously optimistic that the public meeting portion of the special permit application will be closed that evening, and request that the board deliberate that night on the special permit, because essentially, although the special permit has been recently filed, there are no new issues raised that have not been already addressed in the context of the site plan review application. So our goal is to get the public meeting closed and have the board vote on the special permit. We will also request at the same time, and this may be moot depending on how the special permit application plays out that evening, for a provisional permit under the site plan review, which is still active. So we're basically doing everything that we can, given the circumstances, to obtain the permit so we can get this project off the ground. So that's where we're at administratively. And I understand there are some issues and concerns about the time and the outstanding agreement, but a certain portion of this has been out of our control, and basically we're doing everything we can to get this project going forward. It's in our best interest to do so on a lot of levels, not just before the commission, but for many other reasons. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I will tell you that we will have a much more clarity on the time frame after the July 18th meeting. Right now, before the meeting, I'm trying to expedite the process, and people are on vacation, a little bit non-responsive, but we're doing everything that we actually can do to expedite.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask a hard question.
Fire away.
If both permits are denied, where does that leave you?
I don't expect that to happen,
Okay.
but if it does, it will depend on what is on the record on July 18th. Without
I know.
without raising too many issues,
Yeah.
I actually think this case is ripe. This matter is ripe for a court case right now, legally, on a few different levels. But we're trying to avoid that.
No, and I would hope that we're all trying to avoid that issue and try and get the project done. And I don't have any concerns, and I don't think the commissioners have any concerns with the actual documents that you're referring as far as what we're concerned with, the PPA and the IA.
Understood.
I've had a conversation with Bonnie. We're gonna work through that internally to try and, the dates are a little difficult only because even the DOER has not set dates for this program to end yet. It's not gonna end until the SMART program starts, and they don't know when the SMART program's gonna start, so it's difficult to fix a date on the PPA as an end date.
Agreed.
And not trying to tie your hands as far as the project goes. So Bonnie and I will discuss that as far as what the dates that look best for the light department and the project, and that we can easily work through.
I can assure you that if we are fortunate enough to obtain the permit, that the back end of this project will be expedited as best as possible.
Well, I'd assume you have everything ready to go. It's just a matter of permit gets stamped.
There's been some bumps, but that permit is issued. We have to wait for the appeals period to expire,
Yeah.
and then as far as we're concerned, we'll be ready to go.
Okay.
In hindsight, and I understand the dates are important to the commission, but I don't know off the top of my head the construction time on it, but
Well, it's interesting because we're also, the procurement process that we've done numerous times, I think we can do it in our sleep now. Everyone has been very good as far as working with us and understanding that we're getting there. But we have the prospect of the September tariffs that fall into place. So some of the vendors are having to consider what's going to happen. So everybody's on board. I spoke again today with the land clearing company, so we have the rack. We have everything we can have in place as best as we can have it, and everyone has been very attentive, and they're on board to expedite. But there are things that none of us, it's hard for them, to give us, those 90-day pricing for themselves too.
Right.
Even though I say 30 days would.
So it's
Well,
in our
why
best
not?
interest as well
Yeah.
to get this thing signed, sealed, and delivered. Otherwise, the risk increases in terms of cost and what have you as time goes on. So I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns or.
So is this gonna require a rewrite of the purchase power with new dates inserted? I understand that, there's no fixed dates because it's dependent on receiving the special permit or the existing permit, if I'm correct. So how do we work those dates into a new
I think-
document?
I don't think we need to get legal. If it's just a fixed date in the contract, I don't think we need to get legal involved on both sides. If we're both agreeable to, if it's just changing a date from a construction date of June 30th to September 30th, I don't think we need to get legal involved in that.
And how this plays out on the 18th, I think, like I said, we'll have more clarity on it. We're happy to get a practical date so we don't have to come back again and discuss dates. Or we could certainly tie it into within a certain amount of time after the permit issues. And we could do it that way too, depending on the commission's feeling on it. Either way, whatever makes sense to you. I mean, we're interested in just getting it done best we can, as soon as we can.
I mean, I'll do what you guys want me to do as far as the PPA goes and the IA goes. If you wanna legal review it, then that's fine too. It's,
I'll have to see where the planning board goes.
Really kind of in limbo now until the 18th.
We are.
Yep.
And there's been a little bit of a delay with respect to the 18th too, and I'm not very happy about that, to be perfectly honest with you. I've made 2 phone calls, sent out a couple of emails this week. All we're really waiting for at this point in time is the final comprehensive review from the peer review, the consultant. It's the only piece that we're missing. And I'm trying, and I won't get into it, but I'm trying to make sure that that gets done before the 18th. That's the only hurdle we have right now, realistically. And the chairman's on vacation this week, and so we're trying to resolve that. And if that does get resolved, then I would expect that things should get done one way or another on the 18th. If it doesn't get done, then it's going to be delayed again.
I guess we'll just have to all go through, see what happens. So that we can ask them to take a look at it. We're having to square away.
okay.
Yeah, any input from the commission to the board would certainly be appreciated and helpful. And we're doing whatever we can to expedite it, because this thing's been kicking around, as you know, since November. And the last plan was revised very slightly, I think at the end of June or the beginning of July, but just slightly. But all the information that they need, they have and have had for at least several weeks. So any input from the commission would certainly be appreciated and I think helpful.
Well, why don't you be in touch with me after the 18th? I'll be on vacation
Okay.
I will be getting emails, so if you want to just
Okay.
email me and let me
Hopefully
know
it'll
how
be
it
a big
went.
smile face.
If you want to email me, I'll be on vacation for next week and the following week, but
Okay.
we can email back and forth.
Okay, and my recollection is that those agreements were pretty much nearly verbatim from the other projects. They were vetted, they were really from Raleigh. We didn't make any changes to them other than the name of our project and, some dates and maybe one other thing, so.
It's a standard,
Yeah.
solar PPA that we generally use that we would have used for any other project.
Yeah, all we're talking about tonight really is just the date changes.
Yeah.
No other changes at all to the contract, so. It's fairly simple, I think.
But anyone's welcome at any time to join us on the 18th. And feel free to review the last planning board meeting video if you wish to catch up on the fun that we have. But it will get done. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Any questions or anything, or? All right.
All
So-
right, have a great vacation.
Thank you.
And I definitely will be in touch, and if you, we're always available, so
Okay.
don't hesitate. Anyone, really, if anyone has a question, or, as I said, or Mr. Beatrice said, feel free to join us on the 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Good night, now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4, review and accept 2017 audit. And by the way, this meeting is being video and audio recorded through televised live on community media, Raleigh Community. So, this is the audit here. Now we do with it, man, okay?
Oh, everything was good. Unqualified, yeah.
I had a couple of questions, because I've been reading through the report, financial statement, and I was, when I got to the management letter,
Yep.
on page 3 of the management letter, if you gentlemen could look towards it. And I've been talking to Dan about this. On the very top of the page, 2-C-3, customer accounts receivable. And those numbers are not the numbers that we've been looking at.
That's correct.
Yeah, and they're much lower. And as we look at, and I asked Dan if he would look at 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, and then 150 out. And he has already looked at the 150, and that number was really off by a significant amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was something like $98,000, and it was really $35,000. And some of it was, I'm trying to remember our conversation.
There was one customer in particular that.
Yes, one customer in particular.
We're dealing with
We're
that
dealing with.
is a large amount of that, or a large portion of that.
And then now you're working on the other portion of the 30, 60, and 90 days portion. And how much? So that number that's in the audit is gonna be really completely different, and much lower.
The audit numbers reflect as of December 31st, 2017.
Okay.
So that number is gonna be different. As we progress through the year, the number changes dramatically with when you add in billing, then you take in payments. And as we are in the shut-off season, these numbers will decrease throughout the shut-off season until October of this year, which then they'll slowly
So
creep back up.
By the next meeting, we'll have all those figures for the other board members, so they can see those numbers. Okay. And then the last thing was, if you gentlemen look at the bottom of page 3, 2-C-5, segregation of duties. I was concerned about, and especially anytime you do a risk management and you're looking at financials, that's we have one person that, as it says, these duties include the primary person as customer counter, preparing daily deposits, entering cash receipts, billing system, and preparing monthly reports. Now, it does state in the report, they understand that it's only one person do it, but they suggest 2 people in the office to do this.
And I have not spoken with the auditor about this, but we do only have 2 staff people.
Right.
There are times when we do alternate. One person does the billing, one person does. We alternate duties once in a while. The cash receipts is a little difficult to do, and he does reference in here that one person gets up and does the window every time. Well, that's not the case.
Okay.
They both both Eric and Sandra both get up and get the window.
Okay,
I mean, I think he's mostly citing that one employee in particular does most of the cash entering in the cash receipts.
right,
That's her job as a billing clerk.
right.
It's difficult when you don't have more than one person.
It's just that, when you're doing a risk management, the
Yeah.
auditor's gonna tell you where there could be a potential problem, that's all.
Right.
And, I think we should look at that and maybe address it.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, that's the only two things I was concerned with.
Bob hit the one question I had right on the head with the customer's accounts receivable right there, just the numbers. Do you guys lien people here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And again, I was talking to Dan back and forth, and the number is completely different from that number.
Oh,
It's
I would
much, much
expect
lower.
it to, being familiar with this
Yeah.
myself, so. Okay.
We lean anybody that we can, that gets to a certain financial point where it makes sense for us to lean, cause it does cost us $75.
Correct.
The lien does go on the account as part of the charges owed to the department, but I mean, with all the filing and whatnot, it does, when it makes financial sense, we do lien.
Yep.
And of course, we can only lien homeowners, we can't lien renters.
Very good.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay, that's all I have.
And that brings us down to 5.
Can I have a vote to accept the audit?
Excuse me?
Can I have a
Yeah,
vote
sure.
to accept the audit?
I'll give you a motion to accept the audit with, things I've brought up that will be corrected.
Yep. Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
So now we wanna go to 5?
Sure.
Continuation of manager's review.
Well, this is a continuation of last month's meeting, of my review. I think we got to a certain point where we were talking about percentage increases, and we kinda put it off till this meeting. So I'll let you guys.
So I know last time I said I would get you guys some information on my behalf as far as meme numbers go regarding general managers. My numbers, granted that I have right in front of me, are from last year. They're from October 2017. You guys can take a look at them. I'm not sure, maybe Dan has some newer numbers that we can take a look at. What I've done, that's one set right there.
That's one set.
Yeah, and you can actually not even bother looking at the back page. But I've highlighted some that are similar in sales. You can throw me right out of it because I have no experience.
How we tell.
I have the lowest tenure of any of us listed there. But another thing that I did on my own copy today was kind of go through and compare and contrast the different communities that I'd highlighted to see, what average housing costs was, what average, what median incomes were in there. It was, pretty interesting to me, say, to compare Sterling, where the general manager makes $141,280. Average home cost there was $345. Median income was $90,000. West Boylston, where with $130, the median median income was $74,000, average home price was $292,000. So I kind of look at things as a function of which community you're living in. We all know the North Shore is a more expensive place to live, and you can somewhat see that in, you know, the North Shore manager's salary, especially in Georgetown, which I feel is a, you know, a direct competitor to us. If you look at that salary in the third column over in the yellow. So, you know, I know we had kicked around 2.5%, 2.75%, 3%, but part of me also feels that because of some of these projects that we've got coming up here, we've got kind of an unknown here with this solar project coming up. And Dan has been involved with it from the start. We have potential EV programs coming up here. That's another thing Dan has been involved with. And something that I haven't been involved with, but I understand maybe coming up would be the potential for a new building. You know, whether it be a move or a new build itself. To me, I think it's a shame to let 2 seasoned employees go at about the same time. So I would entertain the thought myself of, you know, making some kind of offer to see if the general manager would stay on for another year. Or maybe longer, just so we have some continuity. So the next year we don't start out with a new distribution manager and general manager thrown right into the fray. And, you know, speaking from my own experience over in Groveland, I inherited a building that was 3/4 the way built, not being very familiar with the process, basically inheriting somebody else's mess and needing to learn process to get that done, and quite frankly, it's still not done. And I think it would be a shame to throw somebody in that same position here if we could avoid it. So,
Kevin, these, everything in red here that you have, these are comparable communities to Raleigh?
in my opinion, yes. I looked at numbers of meters and,
Okay.
you know, revenue, some of them are lower, some of them are higher.
Right.
You know, you could look at Ipswich. Ipswich's revenue is way higher, their meters are higher, but then again, the general manager over there has about as much tenure as I do. So we're both down.
Okay.
We're both learners. You look at somebody like Sterling, you know, and the salary that they're at,
Mm-hmm.
again, you know, similar revenue, similar number of meters, but the cost to live out in Sterling is,
Much less.
yes. So these are things that I take into account.
Well, I would certainly consider, I would like, if Dan would stay, consider staying. That would be advantageous to
It's not for you, it's for
the
them.
department. And,
Thanks.
but, have to consider that wage, if Dan would consider staying. But
I think it would be nice if we could hang on to it.
I'd like to see Dan stay another 3 years. We've got a very excellent working relationship. I also understand that, you know, sometimes people want to retire. So.
Would you consider staying on? Or have you got plans to head out west and enjoy Yellowstone?
I'd have to give it some serious thought. Well, that definitely is on the list. I guess it depends too, as far as what you're willing to do as a board to offer me to stay. You know, I
Mhm.
can't tell you I'm gonna stay if I don't know what I'm gonna stay
Right,
for.
right.
So,
And then the commitment, well, how long would you stay? That would be the thing. You know, it's a year, 2, 3, you know, I would like to see you stay another 3, Dan. I understand, you know, and again, there's mitigating, I don't know anything about, you know, you wanna go fly fishing in Colorado, you know, and golf as much as you possibly can, I don't know, but, you know.
Yellowstone is very nice, but right now, they don't know if it's gonna stay there or not.
Mm.
I mean, you know, we've had a very good working relationship, and, you know.
As long as we don't have to pay them to go to Yellowstone, I think we'll be okay.
Anyways,
No, I'm just kidding you, Dan. It is a nice place to go. I flew there, I flew over there.
well, I think maybe you need to mull it over, and if,
Well, I think probably all of us need to mull it over, because we need basically you guys need to decide what you're gonna do, and
Yeah.
then I need to
Yeah.
decide if I'm gonna take, if I like what you're gonna do, or if, you know, basically you're not. Well, I think we all need to think about it, so.
yeah, I think that's,
I just don't know how you wanna as a board meet separately, and you know, as a separate board, and you can, I mean, you can go in executive session at the next
you know,
meeting
yeah,
and have a discussion on your own about this, and
that's one of the ways to go into an executive session would be
Yep.
for, yeah, so,
I think that would be a very good idea.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And that would give you some time to think about it as well, and myself, and
Yeah, I think you know, you need to mull it over, you know, cause you and I have had conversations about that, and you were, you know. I understand, when we talked about retirement, I told you about my time when I came, my oldest one, you know, and then I stayed another 3 years, and so. you know, it's a big decision, so, fine. I put a motion together that we, the board meet sometime near future, and,
Yeah, no, we can do that.
to go into an executive session and to talk about salary and compensation for the manager.
Are we gonna do that as a separate meeting, or are we going to?
Well, I think we need to do it as a separate meeting.
I think we have to go,
Doesn't wanna be.
well, I mean, it depends. So the August meeting, I emailed you some
right,
things today and questions today about, cause I was thinking maybe we didn't have to have an August meeting, but seeing as this and the EV program stuff that I emailed you earlier, if you want to make that official and vote on that, we could basically have an August meeting, have minutes, have that. Maybe the solar is gonna be something that we may need to talk about in August, so.
how about this, I withdraw my motion and I'll leave it up to the chairman to make a decision about executive session maybe before the next meeting.
Yeah, and we can go into executive session, or you can go into executive session, I'll just leave the room and you come get me when you're ready to come
Okay.
back into open session too, I mean,
Alright.
it's not, I don't mind that.
Right.
Don't mind me, I have things going through my head, that's all.
I can see it.
The
Okay.
wheels are turning.
It's because there's no
Alright.
hair up there to hide it, that's why.
That's what that old steam is coming up there.
Is that it?
I guess, but I'm of the feeling we need to resolve this at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, because I don't think it's fair to Dan or ourselves to continue to drag it on.
Nothing else, like be a motion to adjourn?
Takes fire out of
The second motion.
Okay.
you. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.